Hi, welcome back to the You Can Homeschool podcast. My name is Tracey Hagerman, the happy homeschooler, and Pat is away this week, but I have an exciting and very special guest with me today that I'm so excited for all of you to hear from. And her name is Alaina Oommen, and she is a 13-year-old author. Now, just to be clear, she actually published her book when she was 11 years old. So today, our topic is how to turn difficulties into triumphs. And the reason I wanted to have Alaina on for all of you homeschooling moms, or maybe some of your teens or kids are listening with you, this is certainly an interview they'd want to hear if they're not. Alaina had some difficulties in her life, and she did something pretty amazing. She decided, instead of getting all down about it, that she would actually try and make something good come out of it. And through her silver lining, she took some experience that happened to her and she decided to write and publish her own book. So Alaina and I are going to have a conversation here back and forth. And I'm just going to introduce her a little more. So she's the author of the book called The Very Friendly Poodle, Patsy. And if anyone who knows Alaina knows that she loves storytelling. So she does this through art, literature, music, dance, and theater. So she has a lot of interest. Also, Alaina enjoys traveling with her family and exploring new cultures and traditions. And she really loves the beach, collecting shells, swimming, and track. So she has a lot of interest. So to start off, Alaina I think did virtual school last year as a result of the pandemic. But prior to that, when she wrote her book, Alaina was not homeschooled. She was going to the regular school. But the reason I wanted her on this homeschooling podcast is because when I met her through her mom, who's also an author, I was so inspired by someone who's young, who took a difficulty and made it into a positive influence. And I think a lot of homeschoolers have projects that they do, and sometimes they take on like longer unit studies. And I thought Alaina would be a perfect example of a project that a homeschooler could take on for a year or half a year. So she's going to tell us a little bit about her book and about her whole process of writing and how she's become this now famous published author. So I'm going to start with a few questions. So the first one, Alaina, is what gave you the idea to write a book in the first place?
So I decided to write a book because when I was younger, I got bullied and experienced a lot of unkindness because I had these major health challenges. And that meant I wasn't able to go outside and play and do a lot of things that other kids could. And to them, that made me different and that made them unkind to me. And at the time, that was really hurtful. But one of the ways I processed it was writing and drawing pictures. And that kind of helped me process all the emotions that were going through my head. And really putting it on paper was really helpful for me.
Awesome. And so how old were you when sort of that bullying started?
I was 7. I was 7 years old, and it was crazy. I mean, most of the time you don't think that's going to happen when you're so young, but it does. And it continued as I got older. It just, got worse. So really writing and drawing just really helped me.
Wow, that's amazing, because a lot of people would just go in the corner and not know what to do. And you actually, you know, found an outlet. So okay, so you had this gave you an idea for a book, but how, with your busy schedule, because we just heard about all the other activities you're involved in, how did you find the time to actually write the book and then publish it and also have an illustrator? I've seen the beautiful pictures in your book. It's a top-notch quality book. So how did you ever find the time to do that?
Thank you. It was definitely a hassle trying to find the time to do it because I was in a lot of activities. So I wrote whenever I got the chance. Like I would write when I was waiting for my parents to pick me up from school. Sometimes at lunch, I would get ideas and I would ask my friends, "Hey, do you have a napkin? I have something I need to write down." And I bet they thought I was crazy, but sometimes ideas would just come and I had to write them down. So I wrote whenever I could.
I love that because as an author, did you ever get writer's block? Or
Oh,
was,
yes.
oh, yes. Okay. Tell me, can you expand on that? What did you do to get out of writer's block?
I think writer's block was definitely one of the most challenging um, things that I faced on the whole journey of writing the book. It was in the story when the bullies were being confronted, and that was hard for me because it was sort of like I was reliving it, all the old memories and all the old trauma, it all just kind of came back, and that made it hard, and I just hit a wall. Like, I was so lost, I didn't know what to write. I thought I wasn't gonna be able to finish. I thought, "This is the end, it's just going to stop here." So, I really had to take a break from it and just not even look at it because when I wrote, it wasn't good writing. It was kind of like writing that didn't come from a healthy place.
Okay.
So,
So how
yeah.
did you get, so you took a break and then what drew you back into the writing?
Well, I thought about it more and I realized that yes, I did want to finish it because I thought it was a really important message and I wanted people to benefit from hearing the message that maybe someone like them who went through this got on the other side of it and they could do it too. So I sat down, I took a deep breath, and I just started writing. I let my thoughts flow. I didn't put a check on them, I just let them flow. And honestly, I think that just really helped, and I got through it, and I was able to finish the book, and it was just an amazing feeling when it was finally done.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I remember the first time my first book came and I actually cried when I received the physical book. So when you saw your book imprint for the first time, how did you react?
It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. I don't know, it was just amazing. One of the most amazing feelings. Just felt so joyful that I was able to actually do it, and I had a message to share with the world, and that was just such a cool feeling.
So what do you think is the biggest thing you learned from that whole process?
I think I learned that I was capable of more than I thought, and that persevering through your difficult challenges is actually good. It's helpful, it's amazing for you, and really just having the courage to do something even though it might be really hard. That's amazing.
Oh, I love that. You inspire me so much. I know there's a lot of young people out there who go through different difficult things.
Mhm.
Um, so I wanted to ask you a little more about your characters. You had how you chose your characters, so you could like maybe describe them a little bit to us, and how it helped to get your message about anti-bullying out there.
So I was into dogs a lot at the time, and I still am. I love dogs. And I thought it would be really cool to make a dog as my main character because that's not usually what people expect. And I made it like a parallel. So Patsy is definitely, she reminds me of myself when I was younger. She's kind of small, she's kind of shy, but she's also like really kind and she has a huge heart. And it was cool to write from her perspective because it was almost like I was writing from my perspective. And the characters definitely came from my imagination. I modeled the little family after my family because I also have a little brother. So, a lot of kind of things from real life inspired me, but I let my imagination just go for it.
Oh, I love that. So, um, like I've read your book cover to cover, and maybe you can expound a little bit about how youth can stand up for themselves when they are bullied.
Mhm. I would say definitely be an upstander, not a bystander, because we all have a voice and it's better to speak up for what's right instead of just being quiet and letting the wrong things go on. Like, it takes courage for sure. It's very hard and it's scary when you see your friends or your loved ones being suffering from someone else. But I think what we also have to think about is a lot of times bullies do what they do because they feel small on the inside, and that makes them act big and mean on the outside.
So what are some of the things that you can do then? So you're saying speak up,
Mhm.
um, and what else do you think helps?
Um, Talking to someone, a safe adult, like a healthy person who you know you can trust, because from my experience, just staying silent, it doesn't help. It just makes it worse because the only person dealing it with it is yourself. And that just, you by yourself grappling with all those thoughts just makes it a lot worse. So when you tell someone like your parents or like a really, really safe adult, that makes it a lot better because you have someone to process it with and talk it out with.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So tell me, what were some of the biggest challenges other than, the occasional writer's block, with the actual writing, and then the whole process of publishing and marketing is a whole other area. So where did you find the main challenges in that?
I think marketing has been hard because I had no idea how to do it. And it's kind of crazy walking up to your friends and saying, "Hey, I wrote a book. Would you consider buying it or checking it out on Amazon?" But I just got the most amazing feeling when one of my friends or somebody I didn't even know, they came up to me and they said, "I read your book and it impacted me. It made me feel amazing. It made me feel like I could do anything." And it was amazing because that's the message I wanted to share. I wanted to share that your circumstances do not define you. Like bullies do not control your life. You can speak up, you can take a stand. And hearing that people heard that message and they benefited from it, just it was amazing.
To me, listening to you, I'm thinking of all those other young people out there who have a passion for something. So maybe it's not writing, but they
Mhm.
have a passion for something and they don't know what to do with it. What kind of advice would you give them?
When you find your passion project, go for it because each of us have something that we're meant to do in the world and we just have to go for it. Because each mission, each thing that we have to share, it's important. It all matters.
Okay. I want to ask you a few more details about so let's say there's someone here listening to this and they love to write and are always writing in notebooks, and they're thinking, wow, I might like to write a book. Can you walk us through what the process was from, the first day that you wrote something down to it actually being published?
So I had to write a rough draft. So that was the raw and real copy. And my advice for that would just be get all your thoughts out. Don't hold anything back. Just write. Just write because your passion is moving your pen and your words, each one matters. And I guess the parts that you think are bad, well, that's why we have editors. I would say editors really help a lot. So there's a whole editing process in which you send your book to your editor and they'll edit it for you and they'll send you back edits that they think you can work on. And that makes your book better. Like they see. So definitely just write and don't worry about what it is because it's amazing. So from editing, I guess, goes to your revising, where you're really revising your book, working on it to get that final copy. And then you hit publish. And then the world of possibilities opens up from there.
How about you expand a little bit on that? Because I hear that you've spoken to some groups on anti-bullying, and I think I heard that you were be speaking at a camp um, this summer. Now, this podcast we always tape in advance, so I'm not sure if the camp will already have taken place. But tell me a little bit about some of the places that you've been able to speak about your book and the anti-bullying.
Mhm. I got to speak to a Girl Scout troop about it, and I got to have my first book signing. This was obviously before COVID, and that was amazing because I got to see little girls who were just a little younger than me, and they loved the book, and one of them really loved to write, and she said that she was inspired and she wanted to start writing and publishing her books. And that was an amazing feeling because I thought, this is how I was, this is how I felt a couple years ago. And who knows, she's probably going to do it and accomplish big things. So,
Right. Fantastic. Now, this camp that I heard you were supposed to speak up at, can you tell us a little bit about that?
so that's coming up. Um, that camp where I speak about bullying will be to like a lot of kids, and I'm super excited to spread that message because bullying occurs a lot, and I don't think a lot of people talk about it because it's kind of a painful subject to talk about. So I'm just really excited to get to share the message with a lot of kids and maybe inspire them to do big things and change the world, because it
Mhm.
doesn't matter how old you are. You can start young. You can change the world.
As I listen to you, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm looking at you and I can tell, okay, you're 13. But as I'm listening to you, I'm saying, no, this girl is much older than 13. You sound so wise, so articulate, and so confident for your age. Do you think any of that could be attributed to writing and becoming a published author?
Definitely. I don't think I would have thought I would be here today doing this. I'm so honored to be here on this podcast. Like, I don't think I would have seen myself doing this a couple years ago. And I would say writing definitely gave me more confidence to achieve my goals. And since I knew I could dream big, I knew I could do it. And I hope every kid knows that they can do it.
Well, our listeners, what you don't know is I had given Alaina some questions that I thought I would ask her. And I'll be honest, I haven't followed it at all because she has just flowed so well. You are such a pleasure to interview. Um, I have to tell you, some of the adults don't stay on topic, but you certainly have just been wonderful to interview. So, another question I do have for you is what would you tell other kids going through difficult situations in general?
I would say your past and your circumstances do not define you. You can take your difficult situations and turn them into something better. You can find the silver lining because I think we all have the power inside of us. We all have it. We have the power to make a difference. We have the power to turn our circumstances around and to do our mission in the world and make amazing things happen.
Oh, I love this. Now, am I to understand that you have a younger brother?
Yes, I do.
And did I hear that he published a book as well?
He sure did.
Now, did he do that once he saw you do it?
Yes, he did.
Oh, I love that. So how old is your brother now?
My brother is 9 years old now.
Okay. And how old was he when he published his first book?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. And
Yes.
what type of book did he publish?
So he published a jokes and riddle book. It's called This Is How Ian Rolls. And Ian just loves making people laugh. So he wrote a book with all his jokes and riddles to share that with the world because that's what he thought the world needed, a little laugh sometimes.
Kindergarten. Wow, that's amazing. Now, I think there was someone else who inspired you to write. Who might that be?
That would be my mom.
Yeah. And so what was the book that your mom wrote?
So my mom wrote a book called Picking Up the Shards, and it's about her past and about how she didn't let her past define her. She chose, she made the choice to live into her future, and my mom makes the world a better place every day. So I'm
Oh.
really proud of her.
Well, I'm sure she's really proud of you and your brother. But, I'm listening to that and I'm thinking your mom took a difficult situation and
Mhm.
did something positive, which inspired you, which inspired your brother, which inspired a bunch of other young people and older people like myself to, look at the bright side, find our passion and just go for it. Just do it. So I think that's just such an awesome message. And for, the homeschooling moms out there, maybe you have a passion that you have that you haven't had time for. And maybe Alaina can inspire you a little bit too. And if your own children might have a passion for something, maybe there's a way that they can actually make it come to fruition. So I just want to talk a little bit more, just so everybody is aware that, so the name of the book that Alaina has is The Very Friendly Poodle, Patsy. And if you're seeing this on YouTube, she's showing the book there, which is great. So you can get that on Amazon, and you can get it in both Kindle or paperback format. And once you go there, if you want to learn more about Alaina, you will find also a link to her author page on Amazon. So we'll definitely put that link in the show notes. But if you're just listening to this, again, I'm going to repeat the name of the book is The Very Friendly Poodle, Patsy, by Alaina Oommen. So Oommen. So anyways, I think that's all I had for you, Alaina. Was there any other words of inspiration you wanted to leave our audience with today?
I would just like to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And I want to say to all of the people listening, that you can do anything and that you should just go for it when you find your passion.
Thank you so much. You have been such a pleasure to have on our podcast. So remember, moms, kids, youth, dads, who's ever listening to this, you can homeschool. It can be awesome. And may the people that you have in your life inspire you to do your best every day. All right, we'll talk to you next week. Take care.